Welcome back guys. In this video I'll be comparing the INT8 version of FSR 4 Upscaler with the FP8 version of FSR 4. I'll be using them in some games running on my Rog Ally that comes with Radeon 780M GPU, which is based on RDNA 3 architecture. My Ally is running on Linux based Bazzite operating system. I'll be highlighting the difference in terms of performance and quality. RDNA 3 GPUs officially support INT8 precision format. The INT8 version of FSR 4 Upscaler works on Ally out of the box. FP8 precision format is exclusive to RDNA 4 GPUs. RDNA 3 GPUs don't support it, but they do support FP16 on Linux platform with the latest version of MESA GPU driver, Proton, and a workaround for RDNA 3. We can use FP16 to emulate FP8. And this is how the FP8 model of FSR 4 works on RDNA 3 GPUs. Bazzite OS system info for my device. Ally is running on BIOS version 3.4.2. I've set the UMA buffer size to 8 GB. RADV GPU driver 25.2.1. Handheld Daemon settings. TDP value set to 27 watts. TDP boost disable using a very aggressive fan curve. CPU settings. Power set to low. CPU boost disable. GPU frequency auto. I'll be using Optiscaler Mod to inject FP8 and INT8 versions of FSR 4 Upscaler into the games. I've already shown the setup process for them on Rog Ally. We'll drop the video links in the description. I'll skip the mod setup part for games in this video. First, I'll test the INT8 version of FSR 4 Upscaler in Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater Delta using Proton version 10-17 as the compatibility layer. Don't need to use any launch argument. RDNA 3 workaround for using the INT8 version of FSR 4 Upscaler. Play on Rog Ally Windows. When I use the INT8 version of FSR 4 Upscaler in this game, I observed some noticeable graphical artifacts. Just to be clear, this INT8 version of FSR 4 Upscaler is even older than FSR 4 version 4.0.0 FP8 model. It's a pre-release version of FSR 4 Upscaler. In-game graphics settings, display mode set to windowed, 720p resolution, V-Sync off, max frame rate 60, anti-aliasing set to DLSS, upscaling quality set to balance. Incorrect resolutions are used for the in-game. Upscaler's quality preset, balance preset basically uses the resolution which corresponds to the quality preset of DLSS Upscaler. You can verify this via Optiscaler menu. Check the base resolution at its bottom side. Global illumination set to medium, rest of the settings set to low, bloom, motion blur, depth of field disable. That's it. Performance game settings, overlay level set to 3, frame limit set to 120, VRR enabled. We are in Optiscaler menu. Yeah, I am using the INT8 version of FSR 4 Upscaler. Input, in-game DLSS, DHS spoofing on. Current model selected 1, which corresponds to the quality preset of the in-game Upscaler. Base resolution 858 by 483 pixels, upscale to 720p resolution, scale 1.5. I'll enable Optiscaler's performance overlay. FPS overlay enabled, full plus graph. Position top right, scale 1.4. This is the opening sequence. Thick foliage around me. Here we are getting close to 41 FPS. Upscaler time, it's around 3.5 milliseconds. And what's going on in the environment? Textures are shimmering even when I'm not moving the camera, completely stationary. And just observe Snake's character model. His face, yeah, you can see that ugly ghosting effect. This model is completely broken. I'll just switch to model 0, which actually corresponds to FSR ultra quality preset on native resolution, FSR anti-aliasing. I'll spin the camera now. Yeah, that ghosting issue is fixed after changing the model from 1 to 0. Here FPS is close to 42, roughly the same performance, but I am observing some shimmering in the background. Textures are broken. Not impressed with the results produced by INT8 version of FSR 4 Upscaler. I observe the same artifacts even on Windows platform. I'll just try out a few more settings. Non-linear sRGB input enabled. It did not help, as you can see. Uncheck the setting. Use non-linear PQ input. Oh my god, completely broke the image. Enable both of the settings. It didn't help. Now I'll use FP8 version of FSR 4 Upscaler. Now I'll be running the game using FP8 version of FSR version 4.0.0 Upscaler. Added the workaround for RDNA 3 GPUs. Here we are in. This is the game running with the exact same settings. Optiscaler menu opened up, and you can see version of FSR 4 4.0.0. This is the FP8 model. Current model selected 1, which corresponds to quality preset of the in-game upscaler. Same base resolution 858 by 483 pixels, upscale to 720p resolution. Rest of the settings same as before. Haven't enabled non-linear sRGB input and non-linear PQ input settings. There's Snake. Yeah, we are getting 42 FPS. Upscaler time, it's around 3.4 milliseconds. Spinning the camera, and oh my god, no ghosting is produced around Snake. This is amazing. And the image quality, it's looking so sharp, so clean. Just observe the environment in the background. No texture shimmering is going on. This is the FP8 model. Produces a better looking image. And then the INT8 model of FSR 4 in MGS Delta. Both have roughly the same performance, as you can see. Okay, so now I'll test version 4.0.2 of FSR Upscaler FP8 model. It's way more demanding than this version. I just changed the files. Open Optiscaler menu. Yeah, version of FSR 4 Upscaler 4.0.2 FP8 model. Current model selected 1. Same settings as before. Haven't enabled non-linear RGB input and non-linear PQ input settings. Base resolution same as before. Check out the FPS. It's close to 33. Upscaling cost, it's around 9.6 milliseconds. Yeah, the latest version of FSR 4 Upscaler is very heavy on RDNA 3 GPUs. Image quality, it's looking very sharp and clean. No ghosting is produced around Snake as expected. No shimmering is produced in the environment. We are getting the same results with the version 4.0.0 of FSR Upscaler. So on RDNA 3 GPUs, better to just use version 4.0.0 instead of version 4.0.2 of FP8 FSR Upscaler. Small display, you'll barely notice the improvements with the latest version of FSR 4. I'll also show you the native performance in this game. Set the anti-aliasing method to TSR, upscaling quality native. Rest of the settings same as before. So at the same point, yeah, we are getting around 32 FPS. We were getting roughly the same performance with the FP8 model of FSR version 4.0.2. FPS was close to 42 with the FP8 model of FSR version 4.0.0 and the INT8 model of FSR 4. Now I'll test the next game. Now I'll be running Stellar Blade using the INT8 version of FSR 4 Upscaler. In-game settings 900p resolution, no FPS cap applied, VSync off, motion blur, film grain chromatic aberration disabled. First I'll run the game without any upscaling, native resolution, anti-aliasing set to TA, rendering scale 100%. Most of the settings set to medium. Post-processing effects like depth of field, chromatic aberration, film grain, motion blur disabled. Yeah, we are in. FPS here is close to 40. I'll engage in combat. This is the game running at native 900p resolution. Okay, I'm observing some shimmering in the environment. Check out that metallic grade in the background. fine textures are producing that shimmering effect. Now I'll enable upscaling 42-43 FPS here. Upscaler set to DLSS4 using its quality preset. Upscaler sharpness level set to nil. If you want to increase the image sharpness, just use Optiscaler mod. Rest of the settings they are left as they are. Optiscaler menu. Upscaler set to FSR 4.0.2 INT8 version of FSR 4. Model selected 1, which corresponds to the quality preset of in-game upscaler. I'll enable override setting under sharpness section. This increases or decreases the image sharpness. I'll stick to the default value 0.300. Auto exposure setting is on. Base resolution 1066 by 600 pixels upscaled to 900p resolution. Yeah, here FPS is close to 45. Without upscaling we were getting close to 40 FPS here. Upscaling time, it's close to 6.6 milliseconds. You can improve the upscaling time by dropping the resolution from 900p to 720p. Raindrops, yeah, they are rendered properly. If you use FSR 3 upscaler, these raindrops will be missing. I hope my mobile phone is able to capture the raindrops. So good results produced by INT8 version of FSR 4 upscaler in Stellar Blade. Not observing any shimmering in the background around that metallic gate. Now I'll test the FP8 model. I switched to the FP8 model of FSR 4 upscaler version 4.0.0. Current model selected 1. Same settings as before. Same base resolution. Check out the performance. Yeah, here we are getting around 46 FPS. Upscaling time is close to 6 milliseconds. Combat time, slightly better performance using the FP8 model of FSR 4 upscaler and then the INT8 model of FSR 4. The performance difference is well within the margin of error. Check out the image quality. Raindrops, they are rendered properly. Not observing any artifacts around our character model. Check out that metallic gate in the background. No shimmering effect is produced. Yeah, very good results produced in this game. 50 FPS. Now I'll test the latest version of FSR 4 upscaler, FP8 model. Now I'm using the FP8 version of FSR upscaler 4.0.2. Model selected 1. Same settings as before. Same base resolution. Here we are getting close to 31 FPS. Big drop in performance after switching from FSR 4.0.0 to FSR 4.0.2 FP8 model. Upscaling time is close to 16 milliseconds, increase from 6 milliseconds. Yeah, this latest version of FSR 4 upscaler is very heavy on RDNA 3 GPUs. Raindrops, they are rendered properly as expected. Image quality, it's looking very sharp and clean. I'll be honest, it's very difficult to tell the difference in terms of image quality between FSR 4.0.0 and FSR 4.0.2 on a small display. Now I'll test the next game. Now I'll be running Spiderman Remastered. First I'll run it using INT8 version of FSR 4 upscaler using Proton version 10-17 as the compatibility layer. In-game settings 720p resolution, VSync off, frame generation off, upscaler set to DLSS using its quality preset, graphics preset set to medium, post-processing effects disabled, motion blur off, same thing for film grade, performance QM settings, overlay level set to 3, frame rate limit set to 120, VR on. Chilling at the entrance of On the Boulevard building, show you Optiscaler Settings, increase its size. I'll just switch to FSR 4 Upscaler INT8 version. Current model 1, which corresponds to the quality preset of DLSS Upscaler. Enable the performance overlay. Stick with these settings. Base resolution 856 by 480 pixels, upscale to 720p resolution. With the default model, that is model 1, I observe some noticeable shimmering leaves of the tree. They are producing a sparkling like effect. My mobile phone camera may not be able to capture this effect, but just observe the vehicle's grills, the front grill. You can easily see the shimmering effect during motion. We can fix this issue by changing the model from 1 to 0. Model 0 is actually used for the Upscaler's ultra quality preset on native resolution, but for some reason it works very nicely here. Yeah, the shimmering effect, it's gone and I'm completely stationary. The leaves, they are not producing that sparkling effect. FPS 60 to 65, it depends on the area, the traffic, number of NPCs. Image quality, yeah, it's looking very clean, sharp. Difficult to believe that this is not native 720p resolution. Swinging around. Some shimmering can be seen around the guard railing and the ladder during motion. Even the stairs. No shimmering is produced around this red building. Minor shimmering during motion. Now I'll switch to the FP8 model version 4.0.0, 58 to 68 FPS in front of on the boulevard building. Change the files. Now I'm using FSR version 4.0.0 FP8. Current model selected 1, which corresponds to the quality preset of the in-game Upscaler. Same settings as before. Same base resolution. Yeah, here we are getting close to 60 FPS, roughly the same performance that we were getting when we use INT8 version of FSR 4. Upscaler cost is around 3.8 milliseconds. Leaves of the tree, they are not producing that sparkling effect. Don't need to change the model from 1 to 0. Not observing any shimmering around the vehicle's grills when my character is completely stationary. Image quality, it's looking very sharp. Here I'm observing some shimmering during motion around the guard railing. Okay, now I'll test the latest version of FSR 4 Upscaler FP8 model. FPS state in a range of 60 to 65. I changed the files. Now I'm using FSR version 4.0.2 FP8 model. Current model selected 1, corresponds to the quality preset of the in-game Upscaler. Same settings as before, same base resolution. Yeah, here we are getting close to 43 FPS, big drop in performance. With the older version of FSR 4, FPS was close to 60, FPS dropped by around 16. Upscaler cost almost 10 milliseconds. Again, RDNA 3 GPU is struggling with the latest version of FSR 4 Upscaler FP8 model. Image quality, it's looking so clean, sharp, not observing any artifacts. Leaves are not sparkling. Not observing any shimmering around the grille of the vehicle. Minor shimmering during motion. You need to increase the base resolution in order to reduce this shimmering effect. Guard railing. Yeah, some shimmering is noticeable during motion. I'll just increase the resolution to full HD. This should help in reducing the shimmering effect. Base resolution 720p. Back to the game. Barely any shimmering is produced around the guard railing. Upscaling costs 24 milliseconds. Hell, I can't handle it. I'll drop the resolution to 720p. Run the game at native 720p resolution. Upscaling disabled. Anti-aliasing set to TA. Standing at the entrance of On the Boulevard building. Here FPS is within a range of 60 to 64. We were getting roughly the same performance with the INT8 model of FSR 4 and FSR version 4.0.0 Upscaler FP8 model. But look at that red building in the background. I'm not even moving. Still texture shimmering effect is produced. Very disappointing. So the quality preset of FSR 4 produced a better looking image quality than the game running at native 720p resolution. I have even enabled TAA. Still texture shimmering is produced. Check out the guard railing here. Textures are shimmering. I'll test the next game. I'll be running Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with the INT8 version of FSR 4 Upscaler using Proton version 10-17 as the compatibility layer. Graphics settings, display mode windowed, 720p resolution, frame rate 120, VRR enable, dynamic resolution scaling, minimum and maximum value set to 66%, basically the quality preset of DLSS Upscaler, everything set to low, anti-aliasing set to DLSS, performance QM settings, OLED level set to 3, frame limit 120, VRR enabled, FSR 4.0.2 Upscaler selected, INT8 version of FSR, current model 1 as I am using the quality preset of DLSS Upscaler, base resolution 854 by 482 pixels, upscale to 720p resolution. There's cloud. Just check out the leaves of the trees in the background. Yeah, they are not rendered properly, completely stationary. The leaves, they are sparkling. What's going on? And just observe cloud's big sword. When I move the camera, very ugly ghosting is produced around the sword. Try using a different model, 0. Okay, it seems it reduced the ghosting around the sword, but the leaves in the background, they are not rendered properly. Now I'll test the FP8 model of FSR version 4.0.0. I changed the file. Now I'm using FSR version 4.0.0 Upscaler FP8 model. Current model selected 1, which corresponds to the quality preset of NVM Upscaler. Rest of the settings same as before. Let's check out the image quality. Getting roughly the same performance, close to 46 FPS. Observe cloud sword. I'm spinning the camera. Wow, that ghosting effect is gone. Very good results produced by FP8 model. And just observe the leaves of the trees in the background. They are not producing that ugly sparkling effect. It's a clear win for the FP8 model. Upscaling cost is around 3.6 milliseconds. I'll even test the latest version of FSR 4, version 4.0.2. Change the files. Now I'm using FSR version 4.0.2 FP8 model. Current model selected 1. Rest of the settings same as before. Base resolution again same. Resume the game. Yeah, FPS dropped to around 33. No ghosting is produced around cloud's sword. Image quality, it's looking very sharp. Check out the blade. I haven't increased the resolution. Leaves of the trees, they are not producing that ugly sparkling effect. FPS dropped by around 9 to 10 after switching from FSR version 4.0.0 to version 4.0.2 FP8 model. Time to conclude the video. The INT8 model of FSR 4 Upscaler is basically a pre-release version of FSR 4. In terms of performance and image quality, it's on par with FSR version 4.0.0 Upscaler FP8 model. I observed these results in many games that I tested on Rog Ally with Linux-based Bazzite operating system, RDNA 3 GPU, The upscaling cost was roughly the same for both of these upscalers. FSR Upscaler version 4.0.2 FP8 model, on the other hand, was way more demanding than both of these upscalers. On Rog Ally, you'll get better performance in most of the games when running them at native resolution instead of using FSR version 4.0.2 FP8 Upscaler. Only use the latest version of FSR 4 if you have a high-end GPU. In a few games, INT8 model of FSR 4 will produce some graphical artifacts. In such games, you can simply use the FP8 model. Even FSR version 4.0.0 will fix the graphical artifacts. For example, in MGS Delta and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, noticeable graphical artifacts were produced in the environment when I was using the INT8 model. Switching to FSR version 4.0.0 fixed these graphical artifacts. Performance was also roughly the same. In some games, I had to manually change the model of FSR 4 INT8 Upscaler via Optiscaler Mod menu to fix the ghosting or shimmering issue. The weird thing is, I had to select an incorrect model to fix the graphical artifacts. I was not required to do this when I was using FP8 model of FSR 4. So if you have a Rog Ally with Linux installed on it, I would recommend using the FP8 model of FSR 4 version 4.0.0. It offers a good balance between performance and image quality. That's it with the video, guys. I hope you find it useful. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.